This episode was made possible thanks to generous supporters on Patreon. Good day, guitar fellows, and welcome to another episode of Dr. Zerner's Guitar Lab. This is the fourth video of the series about the 7 church modes. You can watch the previous ones up here, and today I'm addressing the final pair of modes, Mixolydian and Phrygian. So let's get started. Like the other pairs of modes that I already explained, the pair Mixolydian and Phrygian also has some branded name invented by me, and this is what I call Mixophrygian, because as you already know if you watched the previous videos, that I prefer to teach and comprehend these modes in pairs because they're just like the major and the relative minor. They work together, they've got the same set of notes and therefore the same chords, so there's no sense to separate them, but it's more logical to work with them together as one big unified key.
A somewhat unfamiliar conception for whoever its mind.
This Mixophrygian flavor is something that I also call the Sweet Home Alabama flavor. And from the minor perspective, the Metallica flavor, because and again, just like the previous pair of modes, I prepared a short graphic presentation for you to comprehend it a little bit better, and right after that I am getting metaphysical again, so there we go. The way we build the key is by taking all of the notes within a given scale and build chords on every degree using only the set of notes provided by the scale. In my previous video, I explained the idea of a unified key combining the natural major scale with the relative natural minor scale. And this is how we ended up with what I call the Ionian flavor, a combination of the fast pair of modes, Ionian and Aeolian. Now we will use this as a starting point again so we can figure out how the pair of Mixolydian and Phrygian, or as I call it the Mixophrygian flavor, is getting formed. As I stated in my previous video, what makes the difference between these church modes is what happens to their typical notes, the 4th and the 7th according to the major key, or the 6th and the 2nd according to the minor. So if we want to have the Mixophrygian flavor, we would need the pair of Mixolydian and Phrygian mode. To do so, again, we only need to change one note. We move one of the typical notes, as we did with the lead Dorian, but this time, instead of moving the 4th of the major, or respectively the 6th in the minor, we move the 7th in the major, which is also the 2nd in the minor, a half step down. As a result, instead of B, we get B flat. In some parts of Europe, B is called H and B flat is called B, but more on this in another episode coming soon. From the previous video about Lydian and Dorian, we know that changing one note in the key affects 3 chords, because once it's the root of the chord, another time it's the 3rd, and the last case it's the 5th. So if we move B to B flat, this means that we change B half diminished to B flat major, because B flat is the root, G major becomes G minor, because B flat is the 3rd, and E minor becomes E half diminished because B flat is the 5th. Again, if we take a closer look, we can see that the notes and chords we get in the Mixolydian flavor in C major and A minor are actually the same notes and chords as in F major Ionian and D minor Aeolian. And since F major is the subdominant of C major, respectively D minor is the subdominant of A minor, that means if we want to have the Mixolydian flavor in a given key, we need to play Ionian in the subdominant key. The difference regarding of whether we will perceive this flavor as Mixolydian or Ionian in the subdominant key is what we actually emphasize in the chord progression and the notes that we play. As I said before, the chords and the notes that appear on strong beats and the beginning of the bar tend to have more impact on our perception of a key. In these 2 examples, we have chords from the same set, and only the chord at the beginning of the bar is different. If we play these chord progressions, we will see that the first one sounds more like Mixolydian flavor in C major and A minor, whereas the second is more like Ionian flavor in F major and D minor. So, this flavor is something that I like to associate with the word however, because this generates in me the same feeling that I get when somebody is explaining something to me, and then they say, however, and then you get something different. So, from this perspective, this is another type of surprise, but a different one, not like the one that I mentioned about the Dorian flavor. You can watch the video up here, but more like something that you're not so excited about. Like, but there's one more thing. An example that I like very, very much that illustrates this flavor very well, I think, is a song by Steve Vai, again, which is called In My Dreams With You, and it's from the album Sex and Religion, and this is how it goes. It's in the key of B major, and logically the 7th degree in the major key, if we think from that perspective, would be A sharp, because this is B, and the 7th, this is the 7th. So normally it should be A sharp, but in this case it's A natural, so it's lowered down. And this is why we get and you see that this creates precisely this type of surprise that okay, but what I played in the beginning of the video was something that was pretty much inspired by Steve Vai again. And the chord progression that I used was C major, just for the sake of consistency with the other videos. C major, then B flat, and D minor, and then resolving back to C major, G minor 7, which is like the relative minor of B flat, and at the end C major. So this is pretty much the chord progression of a Steve Vai song, but just transposed into C major. And you see that it has this however vibe.
Exercise!
Today's exercise for you is again to pick up a song and to figure out if it's in Mixolydian mode, and if it is, then memorize it and put it to your mental library. And again, keep looking for this flavor in every song that you hear, and when you hear it, memorize it, and you know the drill. The more, the better. So that's everything for today's episode. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you find this episode useful. If you like what I do, consider supporting me on Patreon up here and on the links down in the description. Also, click like, subscribe to my channel, click the bell button to get informed when I upload a new video. See you next time, and remember, practice makes perfect.